Number one, a person may say, at least I'm not doing something worse. Yeah, that, on the surface level, it seems to make sense. And that is why the shaitan may even employ this particular argument. And that is comparing our sins to bigger sins or to worse sins. Now, this is problematic because the reality is that any sin can be compared to a worse sin. Number two, the statement or a person may say, and I have actually heard this myself as well, someone commits a sin and they may say, well, do you think God will really send me to hell for this one sin? Now, here is why this is problematic. When we say it's not a big deal, what are we actually doing here? We are belittling this sin. And belittling a sin is actually extremely problematic. So what are the effects of belittling sins? What happens? Well, one of the things that happens is that the sin becomes insignificant in their heart. And as it becomes insignificant in their heart, it leads them to commit other sins. Also, the effect of belittling sins is that eventually we can become heedless. Eventually our heart can become sealed. Also, the effect of belittling sins is that a person begins to lose any shyness or shame that they have that may be associated with a sin. The other problem of belittling our sins is that the greatness of Allah in our hearts is reduced. The third way is a person may say, look, you're telling me this is a sin, but this is just my natural desire. And if I naturally desire something, how can it be so bad? So just because something is a natural desire doesn't mean that it is not also something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made impermissible. Rather, it is through struggling with our nafs, through struggling against ourselves, through struggling with our desires that we attain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number four, they may rationalize a sin by saying that, you know what, this is a matter of difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Some scholars say it's okay, some scholars say it's not okay, and because it's a difference of opinion, why does it matter which opinion I take? What happens when we see differences of opinion? Well, the shaitan will come to us and say, look, everything's, everything, not everything, but the shaitan may make it seem that way, or we may get that impression from our own nafs that, everything's a difference of opinion, who cares what you do, right? And if this matter was so important, it wouldn't be a difference of opinion. What the shaitan is not telling us is that the scholars, when they hold that opinion, they hold that opinion based off of evidences, and they hold that opinion based off of what is most pleasing to Allah. What does Allah want from us in this time, or in this situation, or in this matter? They are not approaching it like you are approaching it by saying, you know what, it's a difference of opinion, who cares what you do? And that is why it is important that we don't make the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a deen that we pick and choose what we want to do, right? Lastly, and I'll end with this point, inshallah ta'ala, a person may commit a sin and they may say to themselves, I can always make tawbah. Just a quick look at this argument, seems like a logical argument, right? But just give it a moment's thought. And in a moment's thought, you will understand, it is very clear to us, and I'm sure some of you are even thinking this right now, and that is, how do you know that you're going to have the chance to make tawbah? The only way we can say that we are guaranteed a chance to make tawbah is if we can say, I have guaranteed for me this much life. And the reality is, none of us can say how much life we have guaranteed to us. Hopefully this served as a reminder for ourselves when we find ourselves rationalizing our sins, or if we have these types of thoughts or the whispers of the shaitan, we know how to fight these whispers. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.